As a peace offering for not making videos, I offer you 3.5 packs of cleansing wipes. Or maybe the head of an old sonic screwdriver and a Skype noise. It's going to be a 2-for-1 kind of review in a way. I mean, I think it will focus mainly on the most recent episode of Doctor Who. The way I saw this episode has a lot to do with the way I saw the last episode and the episodes preceding that. I enjoyed Night Terrors, and I thought it was a real improvement on the stories prior to it. I agree with Kaylee in that respect. I also agree with Kaylee in the fact that I felt it was a little bit anticlimactic. I think that maybe resting on the whole fatherly love, father-son, oh, you love him like a son anyway thing, in something that wasn't exactly a cop-out, but it wasn't as strong of an ending as it could have been. But I think that it was a good story and played with these very kind of basic fears of the things that we hear but can't quite place and the things that we see but we can't quite locate. The whole Doll's House setting reminded me quite a lot of this really great Beatrix Potter book called The Tale of Two Bad Mice, which is all set in a doll's house. And it's these two mice playing within this house and trying to eat the chicken, but it's made out of like plastic, trying to light a fire, but there's no heat because it's a fake fire, it's just foil. But it's a really great story, and yeah, anyway, I feel like Mark Gatiss kind of must have read that or something. But it's great, and the dolls were creepy, and there was something that was creepy about them, but I agree that the story wasn't quite full to its potential, but it was a great story. And then this week I thought was a lot better. I thought this week was by far the best episode they've had in a while on Doctor Who. I thought it was just really well done. It did focus a lot on Rory and Amy, and probably compared to other people, maybe I'm not as quite a big a fan as Rory and Amy. That said, I still really thought this episode was great. I think it's just down to it being better storytelling. The idea of the quarantine planet and of all these different time streams existing at once, but us never really encountering those other time streams apart from the two between which we're kind of flicking, I suppose. That was a great idea, and I was also, a bit concerned throughout how they were really going to achieve the ending. I was pretty certain that it was going to be the young Amy that ended up travelling with them. It would have been a really brave choice for them to commit to like that makeup and that age of Amy and that hardness that the older Amy has for the rest of the episodes. I was aware of how they were going to pick the younger Amy whilst not sending out a message of kind of youth over age, natural model looks over prosthetics, and making the Doctor shut the door, as I think we all knew he would, but then the Doctor placing it in Rory's hands to make that decision, and then Rory turning back on the Doctor and saying, this isn't fair, you're turning me into you. That whole dynamic, like, that was the best part of the episode, without a doubt. I really enjoyed that dialogue between the Doctor and Rory, which, even though it only really took a few words from each of them, plays out a very, very effective dilemma that's going on in Rory's mind at the time. There's a strange concern attached to turning into the Doctor, which I think is also explored in some ways in, I can't remember, I don't know if it's Doomsday or the episode just before, when Jackie says to Rose, there's going to be a girl walking around on some distant planet somewhere, and she's not going to be Rose, she's not going to be Rose Tyler, she's going to be someone else. And how when we move away from our physical home, as well as from the choices that to us seem very familiar, we change into entirely different people, and whether becoming like the Doctor is a good thing or a bad thing. I like seeing those moments. I like seeing those dilemmas that in some ways are familiar to us and in some ways are dilemmas that we would never have unless we went on those adventures. I think those are really interesting things to look at personally, and that's why I liked seeing them. And there's visual comparisons as well, to say, for example, Ten and Rose and all the other kind of people stuck between two sides of walls. That's really a recurring image throughout, I think, a lot of Doctor Who, not just Series 2, where it's extremely prevalent. I think that was extremely strong. So I liked it a lot. I think that visually it was a great and very exciting episode. I think that although the story and the setting was basic and we didn't have much history of the planet, we didn't really need to, in a way. Like, it would have been nice to have a little more information, but it wasn't, it didn't throw the story to hell that we didn't have more information in this case. I love seeing the topiary when Amy first walks out into the garden. I think the interface was great. As I say, I liked it a lot, and I think that this episode was even better than Night Terrors, and Night Terrors was better than the few episodes that had come before it. So we'll see next week, and we'll see what next week brings us, but hopefully what it does bring us is not a TARDIS Tacular review that is so astoundingly late as this one. I will talk to you guys later. Alonzi Alonso.